Welcome to the Canadian Homeschooler Podcast, where we have real conversations about all things homeschooling from a Canadian perspective. I'm your host, Lisa Marie, and in this episode, I'm talking with Teresa Wiedrick about Winter Blahs and Burnout. So grab your favorite drink and come join us on the couch. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me here. I know we've chatted before on the podcast, but if you want to take a minute, introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where people can find you, and we'll start there.
Yeah, I'm Teresa. I am a graduated homeschool mom of 4 kids. And I've been doing it for quite some time. And about the same time, I started writing just as a fuel or a way to be creative. And I began to identify after a couple of decades of mothering and homeschooling that there were certain elements of the homeschool mom life that were really challenging. And I wrote a book on one of those elements. And I began my own podcast, and then I started coaching formally, and I've been doing that for the last 5 years. And I absolutely love helping homeschool moms shed what's not working so they can enjoy their lives more.
That's fantastic. And I'm sure you do a great job because you are one of the most caring and compassionate and good listening people that I've ever talked with. So there you go.
Oh, thanks.
So I know today is our chat conversation was just going to be about winter blahs and burnout and, that feeling that homeschool moms can get. So here in Ontario, it has been snowing way more than last year, which is nice. We told some of our friends who are people that we know that had come in from another country, be prepared. It's going to be very wintry and cold. And last year we didn't get like any snow at all. So it was very disappointing for them. We're like, sorry, we hyped you up for nothing. This year they're getting the full experience. So we've got quite a lot of snow. Why do you think, other than obviously the snowy weather, like why is winter so common for us to get in that blah, negative, difficult, chug it along space?
Yeah, good question. First of all, I didn't identify it for many years. I just thought, I'm done with homeschooling. I'd like to put the kids back to school. And it did happen with regularity at this season until about, I think, probably the 8th year for me. But I would say that it's really just us trying to deny that this is the hibernating season, first of all, that it really is a season where we're meant to slow down. The energy slows down. And so I think we should take a hint from nature. But the other thing is, it's a common thing. Everyone is doing it. And this is probably not one you hear as a conversation point often. But I feel like the collective energy or emotions in the world influences us. So that's why I think we tend to get a little bit more slow and dull. Also, there's, a lower vitamin D availability as we don't spend as much time outside. And even if we do, the sun is lower, so we're not getting that. And so various physical reasons. But certainly it's a common homeschool mom experience at this time of year.
Yeah, I was also thinking we go into November and we're heading towards Christmas holidays, or if you don't celebrate Christmas, it's still a holiday, right? It's some kind of winter holiday experience. So that's all hyping up, hyping up, hyping up. Then we got New Year's and we're all excited about something new and fresh, and all that's over and we don't really have anything exciting to like lean towards and move towards. So we're just kind of like, what now? Like it's just the setback. And for a lot of people, this is about the time at the end of January, early February, middle of February, where people start their resolutions kind of are falling away. And because we don't have anything to push for. There's not like, now we've got something new to be excited about. This is a season where we're tired because all that chaos has finally ended and we have a break, but we have nothing new to ramp up towards. I think that's part of it as well. So never mind the fact that it's cold and it's just more inconvenient to get out and meet up with people, or you plan to, and there's this right now, I swear everybody and their dog has been sick for the last month, right? So nobody, you get together and it's like half the group maybe, or it has to cancel because there's too many people. So I feel like this time of year is where it's just harder to connect with people, harder to put the effort into packing everybody up into their snowsuits and throwing them into a car and going somewhere, or the weather's not cooperating and all that stuff. So that's what I think is part of the reason that we hit the blah season as well. Boring gets boring.
Yeah, winter blues, boring. There's so many different ways to describe it. All I know is that when I started homeschooling, I got away every Wednesday night to write. And when after my homeschool years, or when they were nearing, I should say, when they were nearing the end and the kids were in the high school years, 3 of my kids are grown up and graduated now. And my youngest is halfway through high school years. So anyways, when I recognized the things that I was writing, I realized that I was consistently writing at this season about slump month. So I've got 6 different posts on my website that I
Mm.
didn't plan because I didn't know anything about blogging and keywords. I was just writing. And I discovered that I was talking about seasonal affective disorder or seasonal
Mm.
affective effect, and homeschool hygge and slump month and how to incorporate play in slump month, or winter blues. I've got so many posts on this discussion at this time of year. It's a sign. Everyone's
Mm.
experiencing it. And I mean, as a coach, now I see, yeah, it's really happening for everyone somehow, some way.
Yeah. So then I guess the question is kind of like, what can we use to help us stay motivated or to maybe not even motivated? How do we prevent ourselves from falling into like complete and utter nothing? Maybe that's a little depressing. But no, I mean more like
Yeah.
I know it's hard because as a homeschool mom, I not only do I have to take care of myself and how I'm feeling, but I have to take care of the kids and how they're feeling. And somehow we have to get math done. So and
Okay, well, if I was speaking to you in coaching, I'd say, actually, you don't have to do any of that, and you could just stop. You could make this the season of unschooling if you wanted. Um, and I, by the way, found that really difficult to do, to actually full stop. So I'd say that out loud, tongue in cheek.
Mm.
I know it's hard. But I would say that there are certain seasonal things. If you know that this is a hard time of year, then get a UV light. Are you familiar
Mm.
with sunlights?
Right.
Use
Yeah.
them. In fact, until last week, I had it literally sitting right here. And in the mornings when I'm journaling, I'll turn the sunlight on for 15 minutes and it will recreate that vitamin D that we need. I would definitely take a vitamin D supplement. I think something we don't often consider is that actually we might be depressed. There might be some physical issues that are maybe a subtext before that time of the year, and we see and feel the experience of it more at this time of year. Actually, all the issues we might feel in our homeschool families will feel more at this time of year. But I
Mm.
think we can do some really simple things like changing it up and knowing that after Christmas, we're going to leave the Christmas tree up because we like the twinkle lights until it turns brown. And my husband, I mean, not that it's me, but my husband said, it's almost February. We should take it out of the house now. And so just keep the celebrations alive as much as you can. Keep the lights up. Turn on a candle in the mornings. Actually enjoy the darker season. Use those moments as moments of, okay, this is the unique hibernating season. We're going to make it more fun by doing things like not doing certain things every week. Take all the subjects that you've got, put them into a hat, and then pull out a subject and say, that's the one we won't do this week. Or, ask the kids, what would you do for science this week? Do things that you wouldn't normally do. That's what I would say. I don't think you can actually truly tell yourself to have fun if you don't feel like having fun. And I don't
Mm.
think you can truly motivate yourself if you're actually just bored. I think you need to do something different.
Yeah. I was gonna say the one thing my friends and I were talking about it because I guess in the States, in the southern states, they got snow for the first time, a lot
Yes,
of them, like in Louisiana
wild.
and Texas.
Yeah,
And so one of them made a comment. They're like, "Dear friends in the North, how the heck do you get anything done? I just want to curl up in a blanket and do nothing all day." Like and it's like,
that.
hmm. And I was thinking, yeah. And she asked us what do you guys do? And we have to. We don't have a choice. Like we just continue to keep going. But it did make me think a little bit because I'm one of those people that, if you ask me on a regular time, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I work my butt
Yeah,
off until 9, and then I just go with the kids. In the
yeah,
winter, I notice I sleep a lot later. And so I
yeah,
feel, and then that guilt starts kicking in. I could have been up at 5 and I could have done a lot more stuff today. Like I could have been way more productive, but I got up at 8 because that's when the sun finally, I felt like dragging my butt out of bed. But I
yeah.
think it's really important for us to recognize that our bodies may need different things in the winter than they do in the summertime. So in the wintertime, I
Mhm.
may be needing to rest more. And so if it's dark outside and my body wants to sleep, then why not be okay with
Why
sleeping?
not?
Right?
Yeah, maybe
There's
that's the
no
question.
we need to learn how to give ourselves grace when we're different than our expectations. And I've talked about expectations before. Expectations are the biggest way to have guilt and stress and all that stuff. If you drop the
Yeah.
expectations, life is great. I mean, that's not easy to do, but I'm just saying that's one of the things I've learned. But I've seen that in my own life, is that I prefer to sleep more in the, February. I tend to sleep until 7 or 8 instead of getting up at 5 and showing how productive I can be before my friends are even up on their computers in the morning, right? I don't need to prove to anybody anything. So it's the same thing, I think, with homeschooling, is we don't have to prove anything to anybody at this time of year, right?
We're
If
usually
this
proving it to ourselves anyways.
Yeah.
We,
Yeah, we talked a little bit about burnout too. So I guess the question is, how do we know if what we're experiencing is just seasonal blah, or if we're getting burnout? Because a lot of the times the symptoms seem very similar.
I would say assume it. That
Mm,
is actually what I'm not in the nursing field anymore, but having the deep dives that I have done when I was in my nursing program, and I'd say I've got a mini medical residency, although I qualified for no medical residency anywhere. But being married to my husband for the last 25 years, he's an emergency physician, and so I've listened to a lot of stories over the years, and also I've watched him and other people in the medical profession that have burned out over the last number of years. And I would say assume that you're on the path to burnout if you're not actually addressing whatever's going on right now.
there's the mic drop.
Yeah, that's my observation. I mean, you got to do something. It's not just tangible things though. It is and it isn't. Like we have to do tangible things. If you exercise and if you eat really nutritious things that feed your brain, that really does help. And I don't know about you, but I've been like lately, what I've been doing is trying to eat at a certain time of the day and then not eating at a certain time in the evening. And not because I want a specific diet, I'm not wed to something like that. I want to sleep better. And in my perimenopausal years, I'm finding my sleep deteriorating. Well, I found that radical shift in the last week where I'm sleeping full through the night because I'm not eating after a certain time.
Mm,
And that has a huge impact on my energy when I wake up. It has a huge impact on my perspective on everything as I begin my day. And so those things are really big. And also, they're not the only things. There could be much more going on. Like we've spoken before you pressed record, we spoke about the classic pillars or challenges that a homeschool mom has. They feel worse at the season, but like the relationship challenges that we have, or are managing our emotions and helping our kids manage theirs, addressing our sense of self and what we need separately from our homeschool family, what our purpose is beyond our homeschool role. All of those things are significant components of challenge for us as homeschool moms, even before we homeschool.
mm,
But as we homeschool, even before January or February, but it gets worse. It gets more challenging at that time of year.
Yeah, and I had said to you before, I did burn out in 2018, 2019 when our family moved, and
Yeah.
our we decided to host family Christmas. We moved in December 1st. We held
Oh,
family Christmas with 40 people in my house. After my husband decided, oh, first of all, I should back up. We'd lived in the same place for 13 years and moved in 6 weeks unexpectedly. I had to pack an entire place while my husband was still working full time
I've done
by
that.
myself,
Yep.
right? The 6 weeks. And then we managed to somehow move on it, and we moved earlier than planned because we got keys earlier than planned and we could get an extra month out of our rent. And then we painted the entire new house, and then we hosted Christmas, and then I had the conference, and then it was like da 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 da, and then I was like done. Like
Yeah,
I was
I feel you.
done.
I feel done for
I
you.
couldn't move. Like
Uh,
I said the thing about burnout is that you literally can't function. It's like I want to be able to do this, but I cannot. I cannot
right.
make myself do it. I remember my big goals at that period of time was to get out of bed and sit in the middle of the room and I walk down the stairs, sit in my office, which is in the central location of the house, and make
Yeah.
sure nobody died. Like that was my ultimate goal for that year.
Yeah.
It took a long time, but at that time I learned a lot about me, about what I need, because, as a homeschool mom, and this isn't just during the winter, this is all the time, we often give ourselves, we give everything. We put the kids'
Yes.
needs first. We put our spouses' needs first. We put everybody else's needs first, and we forget about us. So,
Yeah.
okay, I have to teach the kids. I have to make sure they're fed. I have to make sure that they, and then we get to us, and we've forgotten about us along the way, and we're tired and
Yes.
broken.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing left to give because we've forgotten to oxygen mask ourselves along the way. And so that period of time was a learning period for me of what do I want to do? Like, how can I have a creative outlet? How can I find something that's going to spark anything in me? Because I just feel dead on the inside.
What you're saying is classic. Like I hear it in different words, different stories, but I hear it across like everyone. You can be Muslim or
Mm,
Christian or not give a rip about those things. You can be, a number of kids homeschool in very different reasons or for different reasons in different ways. And it's a common experience. I think it's a mom experience. I
mm,
certainly don't see it as common in men. Not to say it doesn't happen. It does. And in fact, my husband is a good example of somebody that's more likely to do that. But it's very common in the mom realm. But I would ask why? Like, why am I trying to do that? It means we have to
mm,
be countercultural again because our culture is so productivity focused and finds meaning and value in being productive. And not to say that I don't, but I recognize it has its limitations. It is only so satisfying. It's only so soul satisfying to be constantly on a treadmill. So asking ourselves, why are we doing what we're doing? Because we don't have to sign up for it. In fact, we've
mm,
got this ginormous opportunity to really allow ourselves to live into our meaning, our purpose. As you know, in this homeschool realm, we've already taken a step off the beaten path. Why not take another step off the beaten path and declare ourselves as this is me?
mm.
You jump in here fast before I start singing "This Is Me" from The Greatest Showman.
I love that song. But yeah, I think the other thing, which became important for me during that period, and I think is important in this blah season, is people,
Mhm.
right? And I'm not meaning you need to sign up for every club, class, and opportunity that's available out there, but having opportunities to just be with other people. So for us, it was like, okay, I literally don't think I can handle doing school. Like I can't, but I can take the kids to hangout club or to co-op if I'm not obligated to be the teacher. Some of the times
Yeah,
I just couldn't do that, and my group was very understanding at that time. But just to come and spend time with other people, it gives kids opportunities to connect with others if you
yeah,
can make it work, and it gives me an opportunity to rest knowing my kids are doing something that's good for them. And it also gives me opportunity to talk to other people. I found
yeah.
that community allowed me to be able to accept my space and let other people feed me.
Yes.
Right? Instead of always doing the give, give, give thing, which we talked about before, but the give, 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 I could just be nurtured myself
Yeah,
and hear what they're doing. And if they're struggling with the same struggles I have, or they're not, like, there's things to pull out of every conversation that you have with people. And I found that's helpful. And I think, and I said, I know it's difficult and sometimes this time of year because of weather and sickness and commitments and all that stuff. But I think if you can put effort into, it doesn't have to be a big group, even if it's just
oh,
the little old lady next door. Like, it doesn't even have to be homeschool group. It could just be opportunities to connect with other people. If you
yeah.
can do it with other homeschoolers, they obviously share that same life experience with you and can relate a little bit different to what you're going through. And it might be able to give your kids a chance to go play with other kids so that they're safe for a little while and can just enjoy being with a grown up. So I found that that's helpful. And I think it's important to do that even when we're dealing with winter struggles too.
Very much so. Back in the day, because we moved so often like I moved for since I was born, but when we were homeschooling, we did a lot of traveling for 7 years. We were situated in a certain location, but I was moving from Alberta to BC. Then we started homeschooling. And so I didn't know the people, I didn't know the community. And I tried to create community. It didn't feel like I connected. People didn't quite make sense to me. Didn't have a deep, I mean, there's certain people I connected with, but mostly it didn't feel like the group was my group.
Mm.
But I remember this one woman who didn't homeschool like me. She didn't have the same numbers of kids. They were much older. She did life differently. But every week I would go to her lending library, a huge library in her living room, and she would just offer conversation, tea, look around at the books. And it was so encouraging for me that someone who'd gone before was with me and just saying, yeah, no, you should, don't do that spelling curriculum. That one's going to just kill you. You're going to hate
Mm.
spelling after this. Do something else. Here's something you could do. And, your kids are going to actually be fine. They're doing great. It looks great what you're doing. Having that encouragement, it was so useful to me. And now, even though it's not in real time, every week I'm doing that in what is my Confident Homeschool Mom Collective. And I see the relationships that the women are building there. It looks real. And I create an atmosphere that's just like what we're talking, how we're talking. It's authentic. People can be real. We're exploring the things that really matter for them. I really would have loved this group. I would have loved to be part of that. But what I see is not that it's a magic bomb to make all the challenges go away. That's not
Mm.
the case. Just like you're saying, it is a place to share the challenges. It's a place to say, hey, what do you do when you don't feel like waking up in the morning and creating a morning routine? Which, by the way, Lisa Marie, was a discussion like 2 weeks ago.
Yep. Well, morning is a tough one, I think, for a
Yeah.
lot of people. Oh, I had a thought. I had a question, or I don't know where it went. It'll pop back up if it's important.
Yeah, yeah, no, there's that element too. Perimenopause, how much is that
Yeah.
contributing to our experience in
Things
as
I didn't know. Yeah.
yeah, that one I try to bring up in every conversation because I see it affecting so many people and they're unaware that it's the biggest subtext for your life. It's the hormonal shifts that's going on so big and nobody talks about it.
Oh, okay. Here was the idea. One of the things I also think is when we're a lot of times, particularly as women, when we're struggling, and that could be because it's a blah season, it could be because our kids aren't cooperating, it could be that we're burnt out, it could just be that something's going on in your house. We have a really bad habit of not being willing to ask for help or knowing how to ask for help.
Yeah,
And I guess uh how why is it so hard for us to do that? And do you have any ideas on how to overcome that?
I do, but it didn't come easily for me either. In fact, I didn't know that it was an issue for me. I think the word is vulnerability, that
Mm.
we're unwilling to be vulnerable because we want to have that steely exterior that says, I could do anything. And the truth is, you can do a lot. If you're doing what you're doing, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, if you're a homeschool parent, you are doing a lot. So we already know it. Got it. Check. You have proved yourself. Now, now, are you also a human being that occasionally has dips and lows and ebbs and doesn't always feel like showing up to the party or homeschool table or your kids every day with great joy? Yes, also check because you're human
Mhm.
and that's just so I think we have a hard time being vulnerable with other people, but we have a hard time accepting that we're just human.
Yes, we're expected to be superhuman. And again, that comes also to the fact that we really don't live life with a community much
Right.
as
Not even,
society used to. Yeah. And so we kind of either don't have the people to draw on or they're all I don't know about you, but I've noticed that the people within my social circle, wow, what is going on in the world? Everyone seems to be having massive crisis. It's not just
yeah, well, yeah.
it seems everywhere seems to be just
Yeah,
everyone's dealing with huge things. It feels bad when I'm going, "I'm struggling with X. Can
yeah,
I ask for help?" Because I know that they're already struggling with whatever they're dealing with, and it feels like a draw on them. But at the same time, I want my friends to be going, "I'm struggling with this and I need your help." I want it the other way.
mhm.
So it's hard, right? It's hard to try and figure out how to balance, and so I think that also does have to do with the fact that we've given up that let's do life together experience that we've seen from past generations that or maybe different community groups than I'm familiar with are better at it than I am. But
Yeah, I mean, I certainly felt that way when I was beginning homeschooling that I thought, well, just tell me where the big, place is where I drop my kids off every week and they can hang out with other kids. And then I can go do, I don't know, clean the house or something. But it was funny because I'd say that and I'm like, oh, wait, that's like school. I'm thinking that I should be dropping them off at a school. That's
Mm,
not the goal.
yeah.
But I wanted a common place where everybody would join and connect and build community. And then I quickly discovered what we all do is as homeschool parents, we already took a step off the beaten path. We've already established we're different. We don't think exactly like everybody else. And I think everyone is different, by the way. I think everyone is unique, but we are intentionally doing it. As we continue that path, we discover, yeah, we really are different. And even amongst ourselves as homeschool families, we aren't the same. We don't value the same things. We don't think the same way about many things. And so it is just what it is. But actually, I think it was travel that really helped me see people differently. Um, and also enough suffering in my own life to see that other people are also experiencing suffering in many different ways. And the common human experience is suffering. But what I really saw in traveling was that every time I would chat with someone and be willing to be the real me and listen to who they really are, that was so interesting to me. I was like, wow, why do they do what they do? Or how do they show up this way? What caused them to be who they were? And so when I approach people like that, and even in my culture, even in my town, then I just go, okay, they're just on different journeys, have different experiences. And then I don't compartmentalize them or tell them in my mind that they need to be certain things. And then I just experience them honestly. So then I'm willing to show up to conversations like that. And so I don't feel community less, actually. I feel like community is everywhere I go because
Mm,
I didn't think through these words, by the way. This is just my truth, is I feel like everybody's available to me if they're willing to be available to me.
mm.
Yeah. I mean, take a hint from the universe. If someone shows you who they are and it's untrustworthy, then take that hint. But I don't think everyone is.
I mean, having been part of this group and that group and seeing dynamics and
Yeah.
politics and drama and whatever, I think it's
Yeah.
important for us not to get so wrapped up in all the stuff. It's
Yeah.
better to just work on relational, like one-on-one relations or group relationships.
Yeah.
And
The
it's
key.
because you can pull so much more out of it than getting drawn into all the crap of all the
Yeah.
stuff that goes on, right? And
Yeah.
that's a good point about just being real and authentic and looking at the other person in a real authentic as well. So,
Yeah.
mm. So the other thing I thought, and I know we talked about this probably last time, was about self-care. How important it is to do self-care and again to be gracious and gentle with yourself when if you're hitting a blah season or you're tired or you're struggling. I think okay, so I'll give you my example. So it's been a rough year, and for me, one of the things that's been really important is remembering that no matter what's going on in the world around me. I have no control over whether my child does their math. Like I can tell them to do their math. I can sit them there with a book and I can stare at them and I can point at the question, but I really can't make them do their
Yeah.
math, right? I can't
Yeah.
make a child eat if they're not going to want to eat. Like I can't force food into their mouth. I'm not in control of anybody else. So what can
Yeah.
I actually control? I can control me. I can control what food goes in my body. I can control the thoughts that I have in my head. I can take charge of the thoughts that I have in my head. I can choose to be physically active. I
Yeah.
can choose to prioritize myself. I can take care of myself. I can put myself in priority sequence. I can control those things. So these
Yeah.
periods of times it's so blah and it's so easy to get in a really negative mindset. Learning to prioritize myself has been really important. One of the things that I do now, and I kind of did it before, but one of the things I've been doing is actually putting on my to-do list
You.
my stuff, right?
Yay.
Bible, reading,
Yeah.
journaling, shower, like it seems stupid, but it's like
No,
literally
it
I have
doesn't. It does not
'cause
seem
I
stupid to
feel
me.
our friends and I are always like, "Woohoo, shower, check, done." Right? But it's like, why do I have to
Exactly.
put it on my to-do list? But I am because I want to make sure I prioritize me. It's not, oh my goodness, I didn't shower today. It's like 5 days in a row and I meant to shower and I didn't, but I'm actually putting it on my list, right? So,
That's right.
okay, so and I also am putting fun things on there. So if I want to spend 20 minutes on Facebook playing Yahtzee, right? It's on my list. I am allowing myself the space to
Yeah.
do that so I can recharge and do something that's enjoyable to me. If I want to watch a YouTube video, like, okay, there's a series on YouTube that comes out every Wednesday. And so it's like, okay, Wednesdays, that goes on
That's
my
right.
to-do list because it's important to me. My to-do list doesn't just have to be all the things I have to do for everybody else.
That's right. I think that's brilliant.
And then choosing to make sure they get done over Unless there's something obviously like I have to pay rent or I
Sure.
have to take, you know, the things that are me based are more important to get done
That's
than
right.
if I answered my emails or if I finished a project today or I cleaned the dishes. Like, I'm
Yes.
sorry. If that's a priority for you and that helps you with your whatever, that's great. I'll tell you the other thing that so in my sequence of studying and researching and learning stuff, I came across this idea called pies. And I think it comes from a marriage program, but I found it on YouTube and I thought it was kind of a cool idea. And it's about self-care and about how to take care of yourself, and to things you can control and focus and help you become a better version of yourself to be the best you can be. And so it stands for physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. So if you think about those four areas, how do you feed those areas on a regular basis and to make sure that you're prioritizing them? So, and spiritual doesn't have to be religion, it doesn't have to be faith. It's about your core values and morals and things that are important to you, like who you are as a person, like what do you stand for, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's been a really good place for me to start. So it gives me something to think about. How am I feeding myself physically? Like that can be nutrition, it can be exercise, it can be sleeping and showering and choosing to dress nicely. Like actually be like, hey, I went out and bought a whole wardrobe at the thrift store, found something called a outfit calendar that literally says today put this combination of clothes on. So it says wear this,
Piles.
wear a pattern sweater with a t-shirt and a neutral jeans and a nice pair of shoes. And I've never done that in my entire life. I'm the grab
Either.
a graphic t-shirt and pajama pants with my hair in a bun, right? But I'm trying when I'm leaving my house, I'm making an effort
Hmm.
for myself,
Yeah.
right? So this is about taking care of my physical self. And I've noticed, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's is helping me think about me,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Talking about winter, it's a little more challenging to do the dress up nice thing in the winter time because then all you do is slap on your coat and walk out the door anyways, but it's still it's
Or
still
your
good.
robe.
But yeah, but underneath, I know that I've taken the time and effort to be able to put
Yeah.
something nice on. And it's not that I had to go spend thousands of dollars or change my whole wardrobe because I'm still using the clothes that I have, but it's about being intentional with me and my physical
Yes.
self, right? And then
Yeah.
intellectually wise, this is what we talked about before about finding the things that give you a spark. So it's always
Mm.
learning, it's about finding a new hobby or doing something creative or, you know, learning a new language. It could be anything. So like for example, my family gave me a little beginner's crochet turtle for Christmas.
Ah.
I'm like so lost and I'm on the third row, but that's fine. We'll figure it
I'm
out.
not good at crocheting. The women in my collective are all good at it. And I'm like, I'm really bad. Like the dog literally ate twice the thing that I was starting. I think that was a sign.
But and then emotional is about how you make other people feel, how you evoke positive emotions in other people. So it's about me intentionally focusing on my children or like how do I make them smile or smiling at people on the street or how can I took each of the kids out for lunch one day, like one at a time and talked to them one on one and just saw how they were doing. I mean, we homeschool, so we're always around, right? But it was interesting to be able to have one-on-one time with them where they were uninterrupted by a sibling and it was them being focused and that made them feel special and they shared some things that, even
Yeah.
though we're together all the
Wouldn't have
time,
heard.
they
Yeah.
totally experience more.
Mhm.
And then last is spiritual, as I said, about, aligning yourself to your values and morals and
Yeah.
beliefs. So those four areas. And I found that that kind of framework was really helpful for me. And particularly,
Yeah.
now in the blah season, it gives me something intentional to focus on instead of just feeling blah. I still feel blah. I don't want to walk downstairs and go walk on a treadmill or pull on the Bowflex or whatever it is that we're doing today. I may not want to, but at least I've got that framework to kind of fall back on.
Yeah.
Met my
Eyes.
how am I taking care of my pies today? Yeah.
I also think time blocking and values, like when you talk about values in the spiritual context, I'm thinking of
Mm,
we really getting clear on what you value, what really matters to you, and also what does your partner value, because those two will clash if you are not in alignment somehow. You don't have to have the same values, but common values. And you getting clear on what your values are and asking yourself, is what I'm actually doing today aligning with my values?
mm,
And and then the other thing is time blocking, actually telling yourself, yo, you only have 16 hours today because eight of them you need to be sleeping. And so, what are you going to do for those 16 hours? And I think, based on what I have known about you previously, you are a definite, I can do anything as all this online business stuff, you really do off the charts efforts behind the scenes, and we've all been grateful for that, the Canadian Online Homeschool Conference. And at the same time, I can't imagine how many hours that took. That was
Too
like
many.
too many. Yeah. And so I know from experience doing all the online things that I do, we can see an opportunity and we go, there's more to be done. I can do more. Actually, no, you can't, because you have 16 hours today, and
Mhm.
all of them cannot be invested in one thing.
If people had to take one thing away from this conversation, what would you
Mhm.
want the takeaway to be?
Well, I would go with the what's really going on. That would be the question that I would ask. That even though we love our self-care strategies and time blocking and considering our values and all those things, I would say, is there something? Is there a subtext? There's something going on that has nothing to do with homeschooling, that has nothing to do with slump month, because homeschooling over at this period of the year and just the energy of the slump season makes things more challenging. So look at what's really going on. Get clear on
Yeah.
what you want to shed.
And for me, my one thing I think would be winter's only so long, spring is coming around the corner.
Amen. May it be soon.
So thank you
Not
so much
too
for taking the
soon.
time to chat with me. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So good to chat with you again. Yeah,
Bye.
I hope you have a really beautiful day.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Canadian Homeschooler Podcast. We hope you got some tips on how to handle the winter blahs and burnout if you're struggling this season. In our next episode, I'll be chatting with Andre from AHIA, the Alberta Home Association, about homeschooling in Alberta. If you have any feedback, ideas for topics, or people we should try to connect with for interviews, please let us know. And don't forget to share with your Canadian homeschooling friends. Thanks so much for joining in. Until next time, happy learning.